I'm into Coach Craig Sports, doing a live stream obviously today for the NBA DFS Core Pick video. Going to be going through the injuries in play for today's slate. Obviously did not have a video yesterday, was out of town dealing with some other things. So don't really have a recap for yesterday's picks because we didn't really have picks yesterday. If you are part of the Patreon, still had the Patreon player pool up yesterday morning, early in the morning. So if you would like to be into that Patreon, be sure to check it out at patreon.com/CoachCraigSports. But mainly what we're going to be doing for today, going through some injuries for the 6-game main slate for today, January 26th, and then kind of going through my core picks for both sites. If we have some time, we'll touch on some prize picks as well. I do apologize to anybody that saw this stream pop up earlier. I accidentally said it for 11:45 p.m. instead of 11:45 a.m. when I was setting up early this morning, or I shouldn't even say early this morning. It was about 20 minutes ago. But pretty much what we'll be doing, we'll be getting into these injuries in play at this point in time. So 6-game main slate once again today. We got 3 games starting at 7:30 Eastern time, which is kind of interesting to see on a Thursday slate overall. For the New York Knicks, they got Mitchell Robinson out once again. We've seen a lot of Jericho Sims playing big minutes. Isaiah Hartenstein really got hot in the third quarter and played pretty much the whole fourth quarter last time. So Sims did not look too good. He was one of our few misses the other day, 2 days ago. And then we have Evan Fournier listed as questionable. He's dealing with some personal stuff. So probably assuming that he's out once again tonight. Hasn't really been in the rotation unless somebody else has been already missing. And then for the Boston Celtics side, we got Danilo Gallinari out once again, and Marcus Smart remains out. So it's expected that Malcolm Brogdon is back, returning from his own personal issues today, or personal matters he was dealing with. So going to be a interesting GPP play for him. You can play some Derek White, you can play some Jaylen Brown, some Jason Tatum. Robert Williams going to look pretty good on both sides as well. So interesting slate for the Celtics team overall. Could be some decent value there. For the Detroit Pistons, they are without Marvin Bagley and Corey Joseph once again. Isaiah Stewart listed as questionable. He's been dealing with that shoulder issue. If he's playing, he's going to look pretty good. If he's playing and Jalen Durant's coming off the bench once again, Isaiah Stewart's going to look really, really good. If Isaiah Stewart ends up missing, Jalen Durant's going to look really good. And then we have Isaiah Livers listed as questionable to play tonight as well. So we'll see if he's good to go or not. Obviously, he did get banged up the last time, I believe, versus Milwaukee, but he came back to the game. So not too concerned. Would assume that he plays tonight. We'll just have to see what this starting lineup is overall. If Saddiq Bey remains starting and Isaiah Stewart starts alongside him, there's going to be a lot of interesting plays on this Pistons teams, whether it's Killian Hayes, Jaden Ivey, Bojan Bogdanovic, Isaiah Stewart, and Saddiq Bey. If that's the starting lineup, you can pretty much play any of those guys in GPPs tonight. Or if you get the double big starting lineup, pretty much everybody that starts for this Pistons team could be in play in GPPs. Then for the Brooklyn Nets side, we have Kevin Durant out once again. They are on the back-to-back today. We have Day'Ron Sharpe listed as questionable, dealing with some back issues. He did not end up playing yesterday, so we'll see if he plays tonight or not. Obviously, we might get some more injury news on this game throughout the day. If that's the case, I'll leave it down in the comments below. Kind of some murmurs that people think Kyrie Irving might sit out on the back-to-back. I don't really see it at this point in time since he's been kind of the main piece for their team. Maybe they can beat the Pistons without him, but at the same time, the Nets team's not that great overall without Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving out there at the same time. Then for the Bulls, we got Lonzo Ball, Goran Dragic, and Javonte Green all out once again. So the exact same thing we saw last time out from them. For the Charlotte Hornets on the opposite side, we got Cody Martin, Kelly Oubre both out once again. Gordon Hayward listed as questionable. He sat out the second half of the back-to-back last time. Assume that he does play tonight. And then we have LaMelo Ball, who's missed the past 3 games. We'll see if he's back or not. Obviously, if he's not, and Gordon Hayward plays, we're probably going to see Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, Jalen McDaniels, PJ Washington, and Mason Plumlee. However, if like LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward both out, we might see Bryce McGowan sneak into that starting lineup once again, or Dennis Smith Jr. Both those guys could be in play in that case. Then for the Cleveland Windler once again, and then down, that groin injury. He missed, games, came look pretty, and then supposedly retweaked his groin. So we'll just have to see how that is for him going forward. But I do assume that he's not going to play tonight against the Houston Rockets, the need us game. So Karis LeVert's going to look like a pretty good play. Darius Garland's going to look pretty good as well. If you want to take some other shots on some Cleveland guys, do not have a problem with that. And Houston Rockets side, Kevin Porter Jr. is supposedly out once again. They are on the back-to-back, so we might get more injury news throughout the day. The big news here probably going to be, or the biggest thing to watch here will be if Eric Gordon plays or not tonight. because he has only played one to back-to-back so far on the season, I believe, if my math is correct. And that was a game that I didn't think he was going to play. So we like KJ Martin a lot that day as a core pick, and then Eric Gordon ended up playing and kind of shifting everything all around. If Eric Gordon plays, I do like him today. He's been pretty good without Kevin Porter Jr. out there. Once again, he's still a reasonable price tag. And if he doesn't play, we'll have to see who else ends up in that starting lineup, whether it's a Ty Washington, Josh Christopher, or, maybe even Tari Eason if they go super, super big. But just kind of a lot of ways that the team could go if Eric Gordon doesn't play. But if he plays, pretty much what we saw last night as well. Moving down to the Dallas Mavericks, Maxi Kleber's out once again. Christian Wood is questionable to play today. I do assume that he's more likely on the side of out than playing, but if he plays, you can take some stabs in GPPs if you really want to do so. Otherwise, pretty much seeing what we've seen out of this Dallas Mavericks team as of late. For the Phoenix Suns on the opposite side, we got Devin Booker, Jay Crowder, Cameron Payne, and Landry Shamet all out once again. And then we have DeAndre Ayton listed as probable to play tonight. He's been dealing with an illness, missed the past 2 games, but going to be an interesting play in GPP format on both sites. Then on the Spurs side, they are also on the back-to-back tonight. Devin Vassell is still out. He's assumed to be out till after the All-Star break. Romeo Langford probably questionable once again tonight, dealing with a hip issue he missed last night, so I would not be surprised if he does not end up playing once. Let's see here. So I do apologize there. For whatever reason, we got off of the screen. But where I was kind of at with the injuries, I think, is still on that Spurs side. So Devin Vassell's out. He's out until after the All-Star break, assumingly. And then we have Romeo Langford listed as questionable. Missed last night due to a hip injury. I assume that he's out once again tonight, but they are on the back-to-back, so we'll have to see. Keta Bates-Diop got that spot start yesterday. If he ends up getting the start once again tonight, you can play him as kind of a GPP pay down option. If somebody else starts, then it kind of just shifts things around a little bit. But I do like Josh Richardson quite a bit tonight on the DraftKings side, especially if Romeo Langford's out. And then on the Clippers side, we got John Wall out once again. We got Marcus Morris listed as questionable. Luke Kennard misses. See if he's back tonight or not. Obviously, it would be great to see him back. And then Marcus Morris, he is dealing with a rib issue. He only played like 9 minutes the last game. So assume that there is a good chance that he does end up missing today. If he doesn't play, Nick Batum would likely start in his place and not be a terrible GPP paydown option as well. But with that being said, that's kind of a quick little rundown on all the injuries for today. Going through real quick. The ones that we're going to be watching the most, Isaiah Stewart's going to be a big one. If he plays, he's going to look pretty good, especially if he starts. Jalen Duran doesn't start. If he's out, then Jalen Duran's going to look really good overall. LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward both have a pretty big impact, but these are games that we're going to get the news right away on today. Donovan Mitchell and obviously says Karis LeVert, Darius Christian Wood, if he ends up playing, more of a GPP option. Obviously hurts a little bit of everyone on the Dallas Mavericks team. If he doesn't play, you can still pretty much play everyone in GPP formats. Luka Doncic, you can definitely play on both formats as well, on both sites. And then, the Marcus Morris one might have a little bit of impact for the Clippers overall as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks for today. So we're going to get rid of the injury screen. And then once again, if anybody does have any questions, whether it's DraftKings, FanDuel related, any kind of questions like that, feel free to leave them down in the comments, whether you're watching live or on replay. So we're just pulling up DraftKings here real quick. So on the DraftKings side today at the point guard position, I have Chris Paul at, I believe, $7,700 going against the Dallas Mavericks. Could be a pace down spot here overall, but the Suns team is kind of depleted still at this point in time. Looking for 38, 39 points out of him, I want to say, at this point in time. If he plays normal size minutes, once again, he's going to look pretty good. Currently, I'm projected for 40 points tonight. And then we move down to shooting guard, and we have Josh Richardson here. I was getting ahead of myself there. So Josh Richardson, $4,400, looking for 22 points out, and essentially was an average so far in the season. There's no Romeo Langford once again tonight. He's going to look pretty good. There's opportunities and some shots to go around. He's not the highest usage guy. He's not the greatest fantasy points per minute one, but when he has to step up in a role, he's been able to do that so far on the season. Currently, I'm projected for 23 points, so this is a guy that could probably change throughout the day as well. Then small forward, we have Karis LeVert at $5,600, looking for 28 points out of him. Obviously, this is assuming that Donovan Mitchell is out once again tonight. Should be a good spot against the Houston Rockets. Currently have him projected for about 29, 30 points tonight. Definitely has upside for more as well. If he's out there, he's getting the minutes and he's playing pretty well once again. Then at power forward, we have Cameron Johnson at $5,300. Looking for 26, 27.7. Currently having projected for 28, 29 tonight. Dallas Mavericks, pace down spot there, but should be a pretty decent matchup for him. He's been playing the minutes once again. He had a crazy good game last time out where he hit a bunch of three-pointers and looked pretty good overall. So still pretty good value. And one of the bigger shot makers on this Phoenix Suns team at this point in time. It's probably him and DeAndre Ayton. Chris Paul is more of an assist guy. Mikal Bridges is a guy that, he's a good role player, plays a good defense. He can take shots when he needs to, but would assume that Cam Johnson and DeAndre Ayton going to get more shots than not tonight. And then last but not least, at that center position, we have Dwight Powell, who had a monster game last time out, $3,600, looking for 18.7. Currently, I'm projected for 20 tonight, so just a cheap center option. If Christian Wood ends up playing tonight, do not like Dwight Powell quite as much, so then that'd be a situation where we pivot off of him. But as long as Christian Wood is not playing today, if we get Dwight Powell out there, if he's not getting in foul trouble against DeAndre Ayton, he's going to look pretty good overall. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players on the DraftKings side tonight, you have $23,400 remaining, $7,800 per player. Still a good amount of money left over, whether you want to pay up for a stud at the top, whether it's a Luka Doncic, probably not Jason Tatum tonight since they're getting a little bit more healthy at this point in time. Kyrie Irving's up there if he ends up playing. Yeah, there's quite a few options that are right around that $10,000 mark tonight overall, so could have quite a few guys up there. Or if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, that's definitely fine on tonight's slate as well. Maybe you get into like a Darius Garland. If Donovan Mitchell doesn't play, you get some other guys right around that $7,000, $8,000 mark as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. So getting rid of DraftKings, bringing up FanDuel over here. So let me share that screen real quick. And on the FanDuel side, it's a little bit different tonight. I still like Chris Paul, but he's $8,000 over there. So he still projects right around 40 points. So he's right in the line on the 5X. But my favorite play on the FanDuel side in terms of value is going to be Trey Jones. He's $6,300. They're playing on the back-to-back, but he didn't play crazy big minutes last night either. Even though that Lakers game was not like a massive blowout till kind of towards the end of the game, or at least the fourth quarter, not too much travel today since obviously they played Lakers yesterday. They played the Clippers today, so they've been there. So not too concerned about that. $6,300. We're looking for 31 points out of him. He's averaging just over 30 on the season. Currently, I'm projected for 32 tonight. So not like a crazy value, but a guy that's a decent play overall. And then a shooting guard, we have Karis LeVert. Once again, it's $5,500. So on the FanDuel side, we're looking for 27, 28 out of him. Currently, I'm projected for about 28, 29. Has good upside tonight if he's out there, if he's getting the minutes. And he's playing pretty well overall against the Houston Rockets team that is going to let up some points, assuming Donovan Mitchell's missing once again tonight. Do like Karis LeVert quite a bit in that situation. Pretty reasonable price tag as well. Then small forward, we're going to go with Paul George at $8,200. Pretty good pace up spot tonight against the San Antonio Spurs. Excuse me. He is $8,200. We're looking for 41 points down. Currently, I'm projected for about 42, 43 points tonight. Definitely has some upside for more as we've seen in the past. Then at power forward, we're going to go with Cameron Johnson at $5,400. Looking for 27.7. Obviously, on the FanDuel side, you're not getting that extra 3-point bonus. So if he has that crazy 3-point game like he did the last time, going to be a little bit more impactful on the DraftKings side, but still like him at this price tag. As I mentioned on DraftKings, probably going to be one of their leading shot makers and guys just taking shots in general for the Phoenix Suns at this point in time. Him and DeAndre Ayton, I would assume Mikal Bridges is going to get up there a little bit as well, but Chris Paul, mainly the assist guy at this point in time. Don't mind the Dallas matchup, even though it's a little bit of a slower pace matchup as well, but Cameron Johnson's going to look pretty good tonight. Obviously, we're looking for 27 points. Currently, I'm projected for about 28, 29 points on the FanDuel side as well. Then finally at the center position, we have Alfred Sengun, who is $8,300. This is a guy that we've seen take a massive upswing, especially without Kevin Porter Jr. out there. His assist rate's gone way up. It's a little bit of a tougher matchup tonight against the Cleveland Cavaliers, but $8,300, a little bit priced down compared to what he's been the last couple days, even if it's just $100. But looking for 41, 42 points down. He played 37 minutes last night. If he can do that once again tonight, he's going to look really good. And if he can sneak in another triple-double, I think he's got 3 so far in the last 10 games or so. So if he can do that once again, he's going to be a solid play overall once again. And at a reasonable price tag at $8,300, because you're not getting too many guys at the center position that are capable of getting triple-doubles, because it's usually Nikola Jokic and Domantas Sabonis that are under $10,000. So $8,300, pretty good value there overall. But with that being said, if you go with the five guys that I do have listed here, you got $26,300 remaining, just under $6,600 per player. So probably gonna have to pay down for some value. Maybe there's some other value that does come out throughout the day. As always, I'll be listing all the injuries down in the comments throughout the day, as well as many starting lineups as I can get to tonight. But gonna have to mix and match just a little bit more on the FanDuel side. Not quite as great a value over there, at least to start the day. If you want to play Dwight Powell like a power forward as well, he's also center eligible and power forward eligible on FanDuel. Said that a little weird, but yeah, I believe he's $4,100. If Christian Wood doesn't play once again, he's going to look like a pretty decent value as well. So some value spots there if you want to get to them and then pay up for some other guys, or if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, that's fine as well. But with that being said, that's pretty much all I have for the core picks for the injuries for today's. If anybody that is watching, whether you're watching live or on replay, feel free to leave any comments, any questions that you guys do have for tonight's slate. If you're watching live, obviously it'll pop up in the chat. If you're watching on replay, it'll be down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. But that's kind of what I have focused for today. I'm going to probably move over to Price Picks a little bit as well and talk over there. I have not gotten a chance to really dig into Price Picks at this point in time. I haven't looked at it too much. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen. I'm going to bring up the Prize Picks screen real quick. And for anybody that is new to Prize Picks, brand news, I did leave my code in the chat. So if you use that code when you first sign up, you get an extra little bonus deposit on top of that. It helps you out. It helps me out just a little bit as well. So we're getting that pulled up now. Mainly on the Price Pick side, I like looking at the fantasy score because that's what I do every day. I do the projections in the morning. So that is where I think the biggest edge for me personally is. If you guys don't like doing the fantasy score, you like looking at points, assists, rebounds, anything else like that, you can definitely do that as well. The one that I really shy away from the most is the free throw made one, because free throws rely on fouls. Fouls are not, a stat that you can really track game to game. You can track like which officials call them more often and stuff like that, but it's just not something that I want to chase because you're relying on another outside variable as well. So just going through the fantasy scores, Kyrie Irving at 48.5. And for people that aren't familiar with the fantasy scores for Prize Picks, they're very, very similar to the fantasy scores for FanDuel as well. So if you're used to playing on FanDuel, Prize Pick is a great opportunity for you, especially in terms of fantasy score, because the scoring is essentially the same. But we're going to go through these. I don't mind Kyrie Irving at 48.5, assuming that he does play tonight. I currently have him projected for about 51 FanDuel points, which would be like 51 Prize Picks points. I don't mind going to that tonight. Jaden Ivey, 27.5 is going to be a pretty tight line there. If the game stays competitive, he could definitely go over though. Ben Simmons, I have right around 33, 34. So I'm just going through these. I'm kind of telling you guys where that I have them for their median projection for tonight, so we can see where the biggest differences are. And those are the ones that we can take advantage of a little bit as well. So Jalen Duran at 27.5. If we get news that Isaiah Stewart is out, I would like this line quite a bit. But if we get news that Isaiah Stewart's in, this probably could be an under as well, especially if we got news that Jalen Duran was not going to start tonight. Nick Claxton has been crazy good as of late. So 40.5 is not out of the range of outcomes, especially with the way he's been blocking shots and playing bigger minutes, but not anything I want to bet on myself. Killian Hayes is typically right around 29 fantasy points. Royce O'Neal's not a guy I really want to bet on. Bojan Bogdanovic at 30.5, I do not mind. I currently have him, about 32 tonight, 32, 33. And you see he's gone over his past 5 games. So as long as this game stays competitive, he would not be a bad one to bet on as well. Joe Harris, there's a lot of volatility there. You can pretty much go back to his game log and see over, under. So that's not one you really want to bet. Jason Tatum, probably right in line at this point in time. Julius Randle, 45.5 does not look bad. It seems like his line's always right around there. So he's hit it 4 out of the past 5 games. I don't mind that. I currently have him projected for about 48 FanDuel points tonight. So don't mind the over on Julius Randle tonight. So Julius Randle and Kyrie Irving, kind of the 2 biggest ones that we've been looking at this point in time. Jaylen Brown, I don't mind. Obviously, we see only 2 out of the past 5 games there. I currently have him projected for like 43 tonight. So there's a little bit of an edge to have on Jaylen Brown. There's a little bit of volatility there. He didn't play last game, which he had like that abductor injury that he missed a couple games before with. I think it was more of a rest case than anything, but probably want to lead on the side of caution with that. Jalen Brunson, I just want to check his last 5 because 36.5 is a pretty reasonable game, or a pretty reasonable line, excuse me. He's missed it the past 2 games, obviously. He had a pretty good stretch there where he was playing like 38 minutes a game. If he can get back up to that once again, if this game's super competitive, I don't think that's out of the realm of question to bet the over, or for him to hit the over at least, but I don't particularly want to bet it in this case. Derek White at 25.5. If we knew Malcolm Brogdon wasn't going to be back tonight, this would probably be a pretty easy hover. But with Brogdon back, there's a little bit more risk to it, but I still have him projected for about 28 fantasy points, 29 fantasy points. So I wouldn't mind the over on Derek White as well. RJ Barrett at 32.5. I think he goes over more times than not, but currently I'm, about 33, 34. So it's not one that I'm betting. Al Horford, I'm not touching at 22.5, even though that's not a bad number. He's just got random games where he just kind of falls off a cliff. So there is some volatility to that as well. Quentin Grimes, 20.5 is pretty accurate. Robert Williams, 27.5 isn't terrible. Currently having, about 28, 29 if he plays the minutes tonight, but his minutes are just kind of big flux as of late. I shouldn't even say as of late because he did come off that knee injury to start the year. Bulls guys pretty much in line with where I have them projected, so I'm not really interested there. Luke at 60.5 is a pretty tight line as well. Chris Paul at 36.5. I think there's a good chance that he gets to like 39-40 tonight. So if you want to bet that, you can definitely do that. He pushed exactly last time. You don't see that too often, especially with the fantasy scores, because there are so many different ways that you can go over or under that number. But it does happen every once in a while. We had a Scotty Barnes line a couple weeks, probably almost a month ago now, where I believe it was like 32.5, 33.5, and he hit exactly as well for the push. But not too often that you see that. Spencer Dinwiddie's line's pretty tight. Mikal Bridges, there's a little bit of an edge to be had there. I got him, about 32, 33 if you want to go there. Tim Hardaway hasn't found his shot as of late, so don't really want to go there. DeAndre Ayton probably hits the over in this case at 31.5, but he is coming off the illness where he missed 2 games, so maybe he's limited in terms of minutes tonight. And then Dorian Finney-Smith's pretty tight. Cam Johnson, I don't mind at 24.5 at all here. So we're going to add him. Let's just go through and add all the guys that I did consider the overs for fantasy score for today. So Cam Johnson was the first one. Derek White, I don't mind as well. Julius Randle. And let's see, Kyrie Irving. I think these were the main 4 that we were really looking at in terms of fantasy score for today. So these would all be over. I have Cam Johnson about 28, 29 fantasy points projected. Derek White, the same, essentially 28, 29 tonight. There is some volatility there with him with no Malcolm Brogdon. I have Julius Randle for 48. I have Kyrie Irving for 51 tonight if he ends up playing. There's some possibility that he doesn't end up playing, but typically I always try to flex these. So in this case, if you bet all 3, then you have to get 3 out to make a profit. If you get 4 right, then you get 5 extra money. If you get just the 3 right, you get 1.5 extra money. So if you put $10 in, you get $15 back. If you put $10 in and all 4 hit, then you can get $50 back. So that's kind of where I'm at this point in time. We could look around just a little bit, see if there's anything else that really, really stands out at the top, but not trying to stay around for price picks too much at this point in time. So let me see the main ones I like to look at next. And I don't mind fantasy for today, actually, because there's 4 decent ones that I would consider. Typically, I like to play flex plays, and I like to play 3 player ones. So that's just me, because you only get 2 out of 3 right. So that's 66% that you have to get right to make a profit. But I know there's people out there that like to make bigger cards. I know there's people out there that like to do the power play, where if you get all of them right, you get a bigger payday as well. But for me personally, building a bankroll and everything else like that, I like to do the 3 plays. I like to do the flex because you're just more profitable more times than not. So let's look at some 3-pointers for today. I'm going to look at last 5 games for a lot of these guys. So Kyrie Irving, didn't mean to check mark him there. Going against Detroit, there is a decent chance that he hits the over there, but obviously he has to play. Boyan's been over 2 more times than not. Wouldn't surprise me if it hits tonight. Joe Harris, there's a lot of volatility there. There's not much standing out in terms of 3-pointers at this point in time. Derek White's a weird one because he's not a guy that you think about taking a lot of threes, even though he's hit it 3 out of the last 5 games there. Al Horford doesn't take enough shots to really consider him, even though he has those random spike games. Terry Rozier, like if LaMelo Ball's out once again tonight, 2.5 made threes doesn't look too bad overall. maybe even if LaMelo plays. Going against the Bulls, not the greatest defense in the world as well. Patrick Williams, we're not touching. Jalen Green, super volatile there. Cleveland's tough defense, anyways. Garland, I don't think of Garland being like this big 3-point guy. Obviously, he's hit it 3 out of the past 5 games, though. But they were all kind of these games down here, too. So that's kind of interesting as well. Jabari Smith, if you want to do Jabari Smith tonight, I wouldn't hate it. Obviously, he came back last night, but that's another guy. He might not even play today just because it's on the back-to-back. Just recently came back from injury. He played 29 minutes last night, though, but he's young, so he could be able to play once again today. Chris Paul, not really messing with. Cam Johnson, if you really want to do 2.5, he's going to take shots tonight. It's not the worst in the world. He made 6 the last time out, but obviously he's only been back 3 games and he's only hit over once. Let's see what else we got here. So Jeremy Sohan at 0.5 doesn't look terrible since he's done the last 4 games, but I'm not a big Jeremy Sohan guy, and he's a guy that can get in foul trouble. He could just not take threes or not make a 3 and just not get there that way too. So that's kind of what we're at 3-pointers. I think if you were to do one of the 3-pointer ones, it'd probably be Terry Rozier. And then who's the other guy we're looking at? Maybe Jabari Smith under, just because he recently came back. And he was only 2 out of 10 or 2 out of 11 shooting yesterday. So not the greatest shooting stroke, but there is some risk that he doesn't play tonight on the back-to-back, especially since he just came back from injury. But he, like I said, he's young enough where you could look at it. Sometimes I like to look at steals, block shots, turnovers. Look at assists, see if anything major stands out. Kyrie's up to 7 now. He's floating around 6 for quite a while. Let's see. Ben Simmons at 7.5 wouldn't look too bad if Kyrie gets ruled out. Then let's see what else we got here at this point in time. Brunson, like 5 assists, feels like it should be good, but I'm going to look at this and it's probably not going to be that good. I was right about that, by the way. Let's see. Julius Randle, he's like this guy. Sometimes you want to bet his assists, but like at 4, you can definitely bet him at 4 for the over. But you got a lot of push risks there as well. But 4 is not a terrible number by any means. If you can get that like 3.5 on a book somewhere, not too bad overall. Derek White at 4 doesn't feel bad if he's kind of the de facto point guard once again, obviously today. So the 2 games I essentially play point guard, he's got 4 and 6. Don't mind him, but obviously you got some Brogdon risk there once again. Let's see what else we got here. Rozier been passing and getting more assists without LaMelo. So he's done. LaMelo's missed the last 3 games. So he's hit 2 out of the last 3 games, 4 out of the last 5. If you want to do this, if LaMelo misses once again, you can definitely look at Terry Rozier. 4.5 assists is not a bad number. If you want to jump on that early, if you have like a good feeling that LaMelo is going to miss, that's up to you at that point in time. Sengun over 5.5 assists. This just feels like too good to not happen. And his number's been at 5.5, and obviously he's got 3 triple doubles in like the last 10 games. He's pretty much hit 5.5 assists over every time. This is a tougher matchup against Cleveland unless they get like blown out of the building. You're probably going to hit that number, or like unless he gets in massive foul trouble. Let's see, Chris Paul, is he been getting big assists since he's been back? So let's see. He's been back just 2 games now. He's got 11 assists in both games. 9 assists is a pretty nice number for him as well. So these assist props actually look pretty good today as well. Let's see where else we're at. I feel like let's look at Paul George's 5.5. I know he had that one game with 12. That's just why I was looking to see if he was passing the ball a little bit more as well. And didn't mean to hit that there. If anybody does have any comments, questions, or anything else like that, feel free to leave them in the chat below. Let's see here. So we got that all set up. Let's look at rebounds and points real quick before I get out of here. Try not to make this stream too long, especially for the people that are watching on replay as well. So let's see. Jalen Duran at 10.5 rebounds. Looks pretty good if he starts and Isaiah Stewart doesn't play. But if Stewart plays, like this is probably an easy under. Like honestly, especially if Jalen Duran doesn't start. But that's kind of a whole nother story for a different day. So if you got a strong lean one way or another, you can definitely take either direction on Jalen Duran's props. But no, it could go wrong either way, depending on the status of Isaiah Stewart tonight. I want to look at Julius Randle, 12 rebounds, because he's been at 13 for his prop line as of late. 4 out of the last 5 without Mitchell Robinson. I believe Mitchell Robinson played on the 16th. I could be wrong, though. And then let's see what else we got here. there's anything else that really stands out off the top. Vucevic, I always look at Vucevic's rebounding numbers, and it's just like sometimes these props just get a little crazy with him. I don't mind the under on him today versus Charlotte, but if that game's competitive, got some risk there as well. Sengun, 9.5. Let me just see where he's at. So I believe this game versus Minnesota, he played less minutes. I believe he was in foul trouble as well. So if you want to take the over on the rebounds, it is a tougher rebounding matchup against Cleveland, though. So I would probably just take his assist personally, but that's me. Let's see what else we got. KJ Martin Jr. Just trying to see if there's anything else that stands out right away. The one day I did like Dorian Finney-Smith over rebounds, but he hasn't been rebounding at a higher clip, even though he's been playing a lot of 4 and a little bit of 5 even. Let's see. I think Zubac was the one that I liked the under last time when he played against. I don't remember if it was the Spurs or somebody else, but just did not end up going very well. I believe that was one of the 16 rebound games where he just played a bunch more minutes than we kind of expected. See if there's anything that stands out real quickly in terms of points before we get out of here. Once again, if anybody does have any questions at all, feel free to leave them in the chat. If you're watching a replay, feel free to leave them down in the comments, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible as well. You can see what Derek White's been doing in terms of points. Not that much, but with Brogdon back, with Jaylen Brown back, and not too interested in that at that point in time. It's just something to look a little bit further into. Has Terry Rozier been scoring the ball more the past 3 games without LaMelo? So he's hit 3 out of the past 5 games. This game was with LaMelo. Last time out, didn't get there. But for Chicago tonight, there is a chance for the over there, especially if LaMelo Ball doesn't play once again. Let's see. God, Mason Plumlee at 14.5 points feels like a lot, but he's been there the last 5 games. This feels like a trap one. It feels like you're going to bet the over, and then he's going to go under and have like 11 points. So just be careful if you're messing around with Mason Plumlee points today. Let's see if we got anything else that really stands out before we get out of here. Once again, 34.5. I think I said this in one of my recent streams as well. For Luka, just feels like such a high number, but he gets there often enough that you can't really bet the under as well. And if that game's competitive, it's going to be hard to bet that under. Unless we get news like Christian Wood's playing for sure or something, that could definitely change the factor around there as well. Anything else real quick while before? That's kind of where I'm at this point in time. So we had the 4 fantasy scores. There's a little bit in terms of assists that kind of stand out today, a couple in terms of rebounding. So it's not a bad prop day by any means. If there's a card that I'm throwing out there later, I'll probably throw it up on my Twitter as well. We're at CoachCraigSports. So if you're not following me already, just give me a quick follow. I like to post up different things throughout the day there as well. But be sure to check out the comments down this video later on the day, especially in terms of injury news and starting lineups. But with that being said, that's pretty much all I have for today's video, for today's stream. Just want to give a quick little shout out to everybody that did join for the stream, and anybody that's watching on replay. I truly do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. Definitely do a lot of NBA DFS content here, doing a little bit of prize pick content as well. As we move towards the NFL draft, we'll be doing a little bit of that as well. So if that's something you're into, definitely be sure to check out that work as well. But that's pretty much what I have for today's video. Once again, I do appreciate everybody that did take the time out of their day to tune in, whether you were watching live or on replay. And with that being said, I hope each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.